What accusations did the false witnesses formulate against Jesus during his trial? In fact, one must attempt to prove that Jesus had been speaking nonsense, first of all, theologically, since it had been a trial linked to the Jewish law. Those who judged Jesus had been caught off in unquenchable hatred against him. One could even say that there had been the demon at work among them, because this hatred remains otherwise incomprehensible. Admittedly, Jesus severely provoked them, and several times at that, but this occurred in response to their perpetual provocation in their will to snare him. And so at one point Jesus exposed them by telling them Pharisees, hypocrites, telling them the truth in front of the crowd. The hatred is so deep, so blinding, that certainly behind it all there had been Satan. How so does one really need witnesses? The technique remains always the same. These witnesses had been the false witnesses. They were paid, but they had to tell the half-truths, because if they were to speak anything at all, obviously nobody had been expected to believe them. It would have been perfectly ridiculous. So they speak in half-truths, words that Jesus said, but according to an interpretation that is certainly not one that Jesus had explained, so everything would pass. One of the best known is as follows. He said that he will destroy this temple and that in 3 days he will rebuild it. It is true that he said that. Destroy this temple and in 3 days I will rebuild it. He said it before the crowd. His apostles were there and they did not understand what he had meant. St. John himself says that he only understood after his death, that in fact he had been talking about his body by showing them the temple of Jerusalem. So the words of Jesus, which have the deep allegorical meaning, are taken here in the material sense. In a normal trial, he would have been asked to explain himself. He could say, I wanted to speak metaphorically, but saying this, I was talking about my body, which will be put to death, and that had been announced in clear terms to his disciples. Obviously, one did not give him the opportunity to defend himself on this issue. He heals on the Sabbath. He could heal on another day other than the Sabbath day. Obviously, the accusation had been factual, but when you think about it, it is ridiculous, because to heal a child of Israel, to save him from a illness, handicap like that, even on the Sabbath day, the day of God, it can only be done with God, and therefore, how could one possibly condemn anyone for this action? In any case, as St. Mark says, the testimonies did not agree and did not converge. We could not therefore condemn Jesus by this method. Result, we will do otherwise. At this account of false witnesses will be banned. What did the judge perform? Always this will appear to be legal, while obviously the sentence has already been pronounced, but it must, whoever appear to be a fair judgment, the type of inquisition we research, we question.